Crime is a father problem. Who said that? Well, the person that said that is a man that's been in more jails and prisons to speak than any other human in history. He is a former pro football player. He's an evangelist. His name is Bill Glass. And Bill Glass has been all over the world, throughout America, throughout the Western Hemisphere, in prisons. And he says, and we're going to show that statistics corroborate this, crime is a father problem. The lasting impact, negative or positive, about a father yields so many dynamics in the life of an individual. We're going to talk about this and other subjects as well on today's edition of Truth for a New Generation. Everything rises or falls on the state of the family. Hi, Alex McFarland here. Thanks for being with us on this edition of Truth for a New Generation. I want to share some statistics about family, but what we want to do in this program, we want to specifically talk about the impact of father. And I would say this, folks, and here's going to be the message that we'll reiterate a time or two in the context of this show. If you care about the spiritual, political, economic, and future state of this country, the health of America, become a champion for the family. Let me share some statistics about the family, and then in a few moments, we've got a very, very special guest that I want you to meet, a dear friend of ours. But in the United States, there are 64 million men who identify as a father, but of the 64 million biological fathers that have children under the age of 21, only 26.5 million are living at home with the children that they have sired. And so we've got this great disparity. Nearly 2/3 of the children don't live with their biological father. Now, 2.5 million fathers are on their own as single parents. All right, but 40 years ago, while there were single-parent fathers raising their kids, it was under 400,000. So we've had a multiplicative increase in not only fatherlessness, but single-parent fathering. And fathers are so important, but they're not always there. A man jokingly said to me, I was on the road speaking, and he said, let me show you the pictures in my wallet. I said, okay, great. He said, the pictures are what I carry in my wallet in the place where money used to be. Hey, family can be expensive. Raising kids can be costly. But a nation that forgets the family, that is far more costly. We can joke about having pictures where the money used to be, but I would say this, that marriage, family, children, strong homes, that's not expensive. It's priceless. And the context of this show, biblically and socially, we want you to care about family. We want young people to care about building families because there's so much in way of blessing and strength for the country. And yes, our relationship with God even, that hangs on the state of the family. Now listen to some of these statistics, if you would. 85% of youth currently in prison grew up in a fatherless home. We get those statistics from legal entities around the country, the Justice Department. Of those incarcerated in prison, 85% grew up in a fatherless home. Clearly, there's a correlation between delinquency and at-risk behavior, gang involvement, crime, and the state of the home and fathers. Listen to this. Of 70% of the youth that are housed in state-operated correctional facilities, including detention centers and residential treatment, of those, 3/4 come from fatherless homes. All right, 39% of the students in the United States from first grade to senior year in high school do not have a father at home. Of all the kids, K through 12 school, 39% don't have a father at home. Now, children without a father are 4 times more likely to be living in poverty than the children whose father does live at home. Now, the dropout rate when there's not a father at home, children are more than twice as likely to drop out of high school and never get an education than of those raised in a traditional two-parent home. Teen girls from fatherless homes are 4 times more likely to become pregnant before age 20 than girls raised in traditional two-parent families. So clearly, the rate of out-of-wedlock pregnancies, illegitimacy, is tied to fatherlessness, or the presence of a father. And 72% of Americans believe that fatherlessness is the single most significant social problem in America. That's stunning, but I believe it's accurate because, as we said, and as Bill Glass said famously, crime is a father problem. So everything does rise or fall on the state of the family. Now, when we come back, we're going to have a conversation with a dear friend, Dr. Bob Reccord, who's written extensively on the state of the family, the state of the country, and really the impact of fathers. Plus, we've got some more ideas on how we together can become a champion for the family and make a difference for God and country. Stay tuned. Truth for a New Generation is back after this.
My beliefs aren't exactly popular.
You can tell me I'm on the wrong side of history all you want, but you won't change my mind.
That's because I'm standing on something that doesn't change.
Therefore, let us hold fast to the confession of our hope without wavering.
For he who promised is faithful.
As Christians, it's important to remember that no matter how good or bad things may seem, nothing changes our King or our call.
Welcome back to Truth for a New Generation. You know, when we talk about the impact of families and the impact of fathers, it's such a blessing to talk with people like the individual that you're about to meet. Bob Reccord is a man that I've admired for more than 20 years. It's been my privilege to know him as a colleague and a friend, and he has done so much. If I told you his entire bio, it would take up all of our time, but he's been involved with Promise Keepers, with the North American Mission Board, with the Council for National Policy. He is the author of 10 books, and with Total Life Impact, he speaks throughout America and around the world. But he's got a book out called, well, I'm going to let him tell you about it, but I want you to meet my friend, Dr. Bob Reccord. Bob, thanks for being with us on the program.
What an honor, Alex, and it's a joy to see you again. Thanks for all you do.
Well, thanks for all you do. And I do want to talk about families and fathers, but very briefly, give a synopsis of your ministry and how people can find you on the web.
Well, it's real easy. You can go to bobreccord.com or totallifeimpact.com. Bob Reccord has 2 C's because my, I guess, ancestors stuttered. And so rather than having 1 C, it's got RECCORD. So bobreccord.com or totallifeimpact.com will take you right there.
I know one of the slogans on your website is kind of like, it's never too late to have a life of impact. What does that mean?
Well, I think so many people at different stages in life think, I know I should have, I know I could have, but now it's too late. And the reality is, it's never too late. So wherever you are, the choices you make will set the directions that lead to destinations God has given for you. The choice is making the right choices and making the right directions wherever you are at any stage in life.
I know you've been pastor of a couple of America's very significant churches. And over the last 25, 30 years, from when you went into the ministry to where we are now, what have you seen as far as the state of the family, Bob, from when you entered the ministry to where you are right now in the ministry? Has the family in America changed, and if so, how?
Oh, absolutely. The stress is higher than it's ever been in my lifetime. The pulls and the strains that are in relational aspects of families are huge. One key aspect, go to any restaurant in America, sit down and just, rather than eating, look at the people around you and watch the families who are sitting at the same table but not talking. Often on digital pieces, exactly, their thumbs are flying but their mouths are silent, and there's no communication going on. And so as a result, that's just a symptomatic point of the strains and stresses. You got increased family breakdown, you've got increased absentee dads, and that's not only absent by being not there physically, It's absent by being there, not emotionally.
You know, Bob, I often say that the second greatest gift God ever gave the human race, second only to salvation itself, is the gift of marriage and family. Comment on that, if you would. Why does the Bible place so much emphasis on fidelity to marriage and fidelity to one's family?
That's a great question. I believe, Alex, because it's the founding block of everything that society becomes. It is the original Department of Education. It is the area where everything comes from, including the future labor forces. It's where values are implanted for a lifetime of growth and productivity. It is where people should be at least, taught on how to make wise decisions, not just decisions, how to make wise decisions. So everything comes back to that. And fidelity in relationships is absolutely essential for a productive society, because the bottom line is everything runs on relationship.
What is the role of men in the spiritual life of a nation? I know you were heavily involved in Promise Keepers, which was, I personally think, was a great awakening. It was a true move of God. If you would, lay out for us the correlation between the spiritual leadership of males and the spiritual condition of a nation.
Yeah, what a great point. God created the home where both husband and wife would play absolutely essential roles. But the dad, the husband, by God's economy would be designated as the spiritual head of the home. Doesn't mean he's better than the wife, doesn't mean he's more important than the wife. It means he's got greater responsibility, because he sets the tenor for where that family goes and where the families go. It's not where the White House goes that determines the nation primarily. It's not where the State House goes. It's where every individual house goes that corporately determines the future of a nation. That dad sets a tone, according to God's economy and plan, on how that home should be solid, stable, strong, and pass on generationally the values that God ordained that make families great, that make nations great. So as a result, when dads are absent, be it physically or emotionally, fractures happen below the surface. Those fractures, it's not an if they will show up on the surface, it's only a when they will show up on the surface. So that dad holds so much responsibility in his hands. Again, not to in any way minimize the value, the critical importance and contribution of the mom, but when they are together, playing their specific roles, wow, what a difference it makes, not only in a nation, a state, a community, but every individual home.
What can churches do to get men involved in spiritual growth?
Well, I think it'd be wise for every pastor to go back and read the book a number of years ago, written by a great guy who studied churches, titled Why Every Man Hates Going to Church. And I think it would say so much about what pastors sometimes just are not aware of, because they're so focused on their daily responsibilities and pressures and expectations, et cetera. And it focuses on things that are key to helping a man feel comfortable, and the environment that sets, saying, a man, you're welcome here, you're important here, and you are vital for the future here. I think that's one. I think it can have increasingly opportunities for men to study together, because there's a best-selling book of a number of years ago that you know of, Alex, called The Friendless American Male. Studies show that American men are maybe active, maybe busy, maybe traveling all the time, lots of responsibility, but one thing they are deficit in significant amount are intimate friends that can walk through life with them, and through which they can be iron against iron, sharpening one another with.
Well, and you know what? Social media and the internet has fostered this isolation. You know, we all need quiet times of solitude, but isolationism is different. And Bob, I've seen even men in ministry, and certainly I've counseled with men that have wrecked their marriage because of inappropriate material that they get really addicted to online. More than ever, would you agree that we have to, with God's help and with the right priorities, we've got to discipline ourselves to, like you say, cultivate those friendships, those positive relationships, pursue our wives, rise up to God's assignment that we be the spiritual men. Would you say in the 21st century it's almost harder than ever, or maybe more challenging than ever, to be the godly man that the Lord has called us to be?
Yeah, I sure would, because life moves at such a fast pace that the expectations grow and grow and grow. The challenges and the demands grow significantly. Men used to work at home or in the fields or close by, and therefore would have a lot more interaction with the family on a regular basis. Today, men are much more mobile. They tend to have to go away, even if it's from where I live, northwest Atlanta to downtown Atlanta. That can take sometimes as much as 2 hours when traffic's bad one way. So when you add that to a work day, the time limited at home is very significant. Then we said this little thing, the iPhone, the computers, that would make us a paperless society and everything would be more efficient. What it's actually done is become an electronic leash so that there's no place we go, no time we experience where we're not accessible by somebody who wants an answer immediately.
Yeah. Well, let's talk for a moment, Bob, if you would, about millennials and younger that really don't see marriage as a priority. Comment on that. And hey, if trends continue, at least in the Western world, marriage and childbearing are just not on the to-do list for so many young people. Potentially, what's the impact in our society and world?
Yeah, it's huge, as you so well know, and being the expert in apologetics that you are, boy, you see the trends unfolding in scary proportions. I think one of the challenges is when many marriages happen inside the church, let alone outside of it, marriage is sort of dealt with more as a contract than a covenant. And every marriage I've done for the last 25 years, I have built into the marriage ceremony, here's the covenant that you are now entering, and here's what it means. We have totally forgotten things that are so important in a marriage covenant. For instance, why does the man enter first as the groom with his party? It's a sign. It's a sign of the covenant that he is the initiator of the covenant. Why does he give the ring first? Because again, he is the one who steps out in the leadership of the home. Why does the woman have her dad walk the aisle with her to present her to the husband? Well, it's supposed to mean I have given everything along with her mother into her life to make her the woman that God wanted her to be. Now, we bring her to transfer the responsibility of leadership in her life from us to this man. And we believe with all of our heart that he's the man God has for her. Nowhere is that explained in many, many marriage ceremonies. And covenant that is made goes back to an Old Testament covenant where they actually sacrifice an animal, as you well know, Alex, laid it one half on one side, one half on the other, and the covenant parties walked in between that animal that had been sacrificed as a part of the covenant ceremony. And in so doing, they said, may what happened to this animal happen to us if either of us break this covenant?
Exactly.
What change that would make in our divorce rate if we understood that.
Exactly. And do you know what? It's interesting. I was reading the Latin word for covenant is the word fetus, offspring.
That's right.
Now, just like the result of a pregnancy is a child, a human being, the result of a covenant, the offspring, is blessing and benefit to both parties. Oh, this is so rich. Folks, we're just about out of time for this segment with Bob Reccord. Hey, will you come back? May we have you on again, Bob?
Sure, I'd love to. Anytime I can do something with you, it's an honor.
And your website again, and folks, I urge you to read this man's books, Bob Reccord and his wife. They're doing great ministry. He's touched many lives, my own included. Give us your website again, brother.
You bet. It's www and then Total Life Impact. 3 words, Total Life Impact, no spaces, all lowercase, totallifeimpact.com.
Folks, stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to talk more about the impact of fathers and what God can do through each of our lives to help shore up and strengthen the family, and our culture. Bob Reccord, thanks for doing that. Thanks for being with us. Stay tuned, folks.
I just returned from a conference at the Cove, and it was absolutely breathtaking in every way. The mountain views, the tranquil areas within the woods, and just being alone with God. Mornings spent watching the sunrise from a rocking chair with coffee in one hand and my Bible in the other. Evenings spent reflecting on the incredible spiritual teaching. It's the embodiment of peacefulness. Come and experience the Cove for yourself.
Welcome back to Truth for a New Generation. You know, at the time that we're filming this particular program, we're just weeks away from Thanksgiving. And of course, after that comes Christmas and Hanukkah and so many things that are so special in the lives of our citizens. And all of this orbits around family. And in the context of this show, we've given a lot of statistics about the outcomes, the negative results of fatherlessness. And let me just say it, friends, there's a reason that for the first 200 years of our nation's history, so many of our paintings, our stories, greeting cards, magazines, greatest memories, they orbited around mom and dad and children, hearth, home, family. But we've lived since the 1960s and early 70s in the aftermath of the sexual revolution, that people didn't think family mattered. In fact, we've had high-profile academics and celebrities that just denigrated family. But family matters. And let me say to you, the greatest joy that you'll ever have in your own heart and life, second only to a relationship with the Lord, is to be a part of a great family. Do you know what? The Justice Department and sociologists tell us that 75% of rapists are motivated by displaced anger associated with feelings of abandonment from not having had a father. Think about that. Just to become a champion for the family and for heterosexual monogamy and fidelity to one's spouse. I mean, if for no other reason, we should stand for the family to stand against sexual crimes. Do you know, living in a fatherless home is a contributing factor to substance abuse, and children from such homes account for 75% of adolescent patients in drug rehab facilities and substance abuse treatment centers. Amazing. 85% of all children which exhibit some type of behavioral disorder come from a fatherless home. I know we're heavy on the stats. There's so much to say. But theologian F.F. Bruce, he was very influential in the life of Billy Graham. He said that God is the archetype father, and all other earthly fathers, more or less, are an imperfect copy of God, who is the perfect father. The state of the family is a spiritual issue, absolutely, folks. It really is. In Ephesians 6:4, the Bible says, "Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord." Some translations say the nurture and the admonition of the Lord. When you think of nurture, it's like a plant, caring for a plant, watering it, helping it grow, shielding it from the weeds. And we're to raise our children in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. Now, I want to say this as we talk about being a champion for the family. Maybe you don't have very positive images of your father. Maybe he was abusive. But do you know what? The cycle can break. The dark spiral can break. And I want to tell you that God loves you, and God can heal you, and God can give you a fresh start. And Jesus is as close by as a prayer. Proverbs 22:6 says, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." And Charles Spurgeon, great leader, he said, if we're going to train up a child in the way he should go, then the father needs to go that way himself. If you care about God and country, be a champion for the family. It's the right thing to do, and it's the pathway to joy and fulfillment. That's our message for you on Truth for New Generation.
What is truth?
What is truth? Shabam! There it is, the big kahuna, the spicy enchilada, the fizzy lifting drink.
The claim God exists is not a subjective claim.
This is not an evidence problem.
So,
truth is basically subjective.
Yeah, emotional.
This is Debunk TV.
Hi, Alex McFarland here, and I want to say a very heartfelt thank you for watching this program. I want to say a big thanks to everybody who's also been reading my newest book, The Assault on America, How to Defend Our Nation Before It's Too Late. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. It's available everywhere. The book is doing very well, and as you know, I have no financial stake in this book. My 17 previous books I would write and promote. I took no money for writing this book, and I aggressively promote this book because I'm telling people we have to have a restoration of belief in morals and truth to save our nation. So please read this book. It will instruct and equip you on how to really understand what's going on, the spiritual battle for our country. And you know, we just sent a newsletter out, Truth for New Generation Ministries. We've been going strong for 23 years, events, publishing, broadcasting. If you would like to get the newest newsletter, and it has 2 articles in it to inform, inspire, and equip, go to my website, alexmcfarland.com, and you can sign up to get the newsletter. It's free, no obligation, but we do offer premiums sometimes. And the premium that we're offering in this month's newsletter, I'm so excited about. It's a documentary on the Pilgrims made by my friend Dr. Jerry Newcomb. He was a great respected scholar with James Kennedy, brilliant guy, just a broadcast quality documentary about Thanksgiving and the Pilgrims. Dr. Alveda King is in there, Bill Federer, Dennis Prager, a lot of great presenters. So the newsletter and the Pilgrim DVD, we'd like you to be aware of. But finally, I would ask you to consider helping the ministry underwrite this great television program, Truth for a New Generation, which is produced in the Alderman Studios in North Carolina. We're so blessed to have world-class production capabilities and crew, but we need your help. And so here's what I'm offering you. We have an award-winning DVD, The 21 Toughest Questions Your Kids Will Ask About God and Christianity. 7 hours of teaching, leaders' guides, students' guides. Churches have used it. It's amazing. For your gift of at least $50, tax deductible, we're going to send you this DVD boxed set. Then if you would add an additional $25, $75 gift, we'll throw in, very cool, the Apologetics t-shirt, Better Living Through Apologetics. It's got the Truth for a New Generation logo on the back. Great conversation starter, kind of quirky, kind of retro, because I love retro stuff. Better Living Through Apologetics. Your gift, the DVD, $50, the t-shirt, a gift of at least $75. And I want to remind you how much we appreciate you. And I remind you as well that the Bible says in 1 Corinthians 15:58, your labor in the Lord is not in vain. God bless you.